Well, we're celebrating everything about barbecue, my favorite food. Most agree Boston is a pretty good food town. But as many people would also say, while Bostonians know a lot about lobster, they don't know beans about barbecue. Well, there's one couple that's decided to change all that by opening up Uncle Pete's Hickory Ribs in East Boston, Massachusetts.
Take a good look at these babies and breathe in. It's easy to get your juices flowing with Memphis barbecue ribs that look this good. But here's the rub. They're not from Memphis. They're from Boston?
Up here in New England, people think grilling is barbecuing.
Luckily for the folks in East Boston, Pete Cucchiera is setting them straight.
Oh, it's so good. My favorite.
It just tastes great, actually. You know, a nice tasting rib.
Well, you can see this guy hated it. When Pete opened up in 1995, there was only one other barbecue restaurant in Boston, so local experience with the real deal was a little limited.
About 5 weeks after I opened, someone came in and said, could I have a brisket sandwich medium rare? And I said, sir, do you know what brisket is? Well, it's meat, isn't it? I said, it is meat, perhaps the toughest piece of meat there is. Unless you braise it in a liquid or smoke it, you'll be here a year chewing. I'd be glad to give it to you. Oh. I said, try brisket smoked. And he's been a steady customer since.
As far as Pete's concerned, real barbecue, whether it's brisket, pork, or ribs, takes time. A believer in the Memphis method, Pete's ribs spend many long hours in a wood fire smoker before they go onto the grill. And when it comes to seasoning, Pete relies mostly on his rub.
In barbecuing, sauce is incidental. We want you to taste the dry rub, the basting sauce, the smoke.
A beefy Bostonian is not exactly who you'd expect to find presiding over this smoker, but Pete says he was born to do the Q.
I always loved it. I was in the Navy and I was stationed down in Norfolk, and I got exposed to barbecuing down there.
That love for barbecue had to wait for another kind of love. It wasn't until Pete met his wife, Pa, that he began to seriously think about a rib place. Their honeymoon 12 years ago became a barbecue fact-finding mission, taking them from Memphis to North Carolina to Alabama and finally Texas.
After a 2-year period and observing all this stuff, I came up with the dry rub. And I would say, with the exception of having quality meat, the dry rub is central to the product.
It took Pete 2 years to develop his rub. He did it at home in Boston, using friends as unofficial taste testers.
What makes it difficult to make this dry rub is that you're trying to come out with an aftertaste with herbs which, when mixed and exposed to heat, change taste, complexion, chemical properties. You may have a dry rub as you put on the ribs. Oh, isn't this terrific? And then after they're exposed to heat and the fat and so, yuck.
No one's saying yuck around here. People are usually secretive about what goes into their rubs, but Pete did give us some hints. The rub includes oregano, paprika, chili powder, and cinnamon.
All in the rub.
Pete preps his ribs by putting them in with a fair amount of margarine.
Yeah, massage it in there.
Which he says helps hold the rub.
You want it to taste good? You gotta put a little elbow grease into it.
Then it's right into the smoker. Hickory and maple woods provide the smoke flavor, while the meat takes its time cooking.
Low and slow is the old expression in barbecuing.
The ribs cook for 5.5 hours, with a little more of that rub basted on now and again. Since Pete thinks it's important to give the flavors time to be absorbed, the ribs are then refrigerated for a day.
The next day, we take them and keep them in a warming oven, bring them up to temperature first. And then when an order comes in, we put them over a char grill, only to caramelize the outside.
He's got to be doing something right. He's won Boston's East Coast Grill Award 3 times.
You hear people say the meat falls off the bone. You don't want the meat to fall off the bone. You want the little particles to show that's still attached to that it's been slow smoked.
The smoker also turns out gorgeous brisket and a pulled pork so tender, it doesn't need much encouragement to fall into a heap of savory shreds.
Never eat with my fingers, but I do here.
It's wonderful. Something you can't replicate at home, believe me.
No bones about it. Pete's Beantown customers have come a long way in their appreciation of real barbecue. Let's hope he keeps on making it low and slow for a long, long time to come.
Hi everybody, I'm Billy Costa, and in this week's episode, we meet a man who used to own Thai restaurants. When he retired, he decided to transform his love of barbecue into a second career.
Half a rack of pork, half a rack of beef. My name is Peter Kuchar. I'm the co-owner of Uncle Pete's Hickory Ribs in East Boston, along with my wife, and we've been in the business, the barbecue business, for the better part of 8 years. Clean the plate a little, garnish it, and ready to go. My wife controls the front part of the house, scheduling, the takeout service. She's almost like Aunt Pa, and I'm Uncle Pete. We try to treat our whole customer base as family.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Barbecuing has always been my avocation. Oh, a little more sauce. When I was in the Thai restaurant business, I wanted to get into the barbecue business, and fortunately, after a period of time, I did, and an avocation became a vocation. Barbecuing is all about indirect heat, moisture, and smoke. What I think sets ours apart is that we have a basting sauce we baste our ribs with every hour. And at the end of the 5-hour cooking cycle, we've built up a section of various tastes, from the dry rub, the basting sauce, the meat, and the smoke. And when you bite into it, you taste all these flavors. People try our particular barbecue, they come back. I don't have to win them over anymore. I say, sit down and eat. If you're dissatisfied, you won't pay. We've expanded the menu to include some Thai dishes. Obviously, from my wife, who is from Thailand, perhaps the one most common comment that I receive all the time, we'll be back.
Welcome back to the Phantom Gourmet. Over the past 13 years, our mysterious critic has visited no less than 100 different barbecue restaurants throughout New England. And after all that delicious research, there are 8 barbecue joints that stand out from the rest. 8 amazing pit masters you have to meet. And those select few have made it to the Great 8.
Uncle Pete's Hickory Ribs has relocated to Revere, but they still make the best ribs around. The wicked pork ribs are insanely tender, thanks to a 3-day cooking procedure, and the massive Texas beef ribs are steeped in rich spices. If you just want a taste, order the 3 Ribs Sampler. Most meals include a tasty sweet potato biscuit. The owner's wife from Thailand has infused the menu with Asian influence, like the unexpected peanut slaw and exciting mango salsa.